the Premier of the province of Gauteng, the members of the executive councils responsible for the portfolio of human settlements in all the 9 provinces, the representatives of the government of Kenya, the chief engineer and delegation of the People's Republic of China, the representatives of the African Union Center for Housing Finance, and representatives of Shelter Afrique, and chairpersons of boards of public entities of the Department of Human Settlements and of other sister departments in government and other board members, heads of provincial departments of human settlement, deputy directors general of the Department of Human Settlement, chief executive officers of the state-owned enterprises and other public entities, mayors of the metropolitan municipalities and other municipal governments, representatives of the national and provincial houses of traditional leadership and other traditional leaders, members of the mayoral committees and municipal governments responsible for human settlements, chairperson and members of the ministerial advisory panel, representatives of other sister departments present here, representatives of the academia, research institution, system owners and other institutions in the innovative building technologies sector, and representatives of non-governmental organizations operating in the human settlement sector, chairperson and members of the IBT task team, delegates and all other participants. Welcome to the IBT Summit, whose purpose and intent is to mainstream innovative building technologies in the human settlement sector. I now take the pleasure to invite to the podium Mr. Panyaza Lesufi, the Honorable Premier of the Gauteng province, to open and welcome everybody to the summit. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gigi. Truly appreciate it. Amase. Thank you so much, DG, truly appreciate it. Our Honorable President, thanks for the moment, President, to come here. I hope it doesn't bring memories of G20 to be here, President. We truly appreciate that. Minister and Deputy Ministers that are present, honored guests, and those that are coming from outside our province, and those that are coming outside our country. Ladies and gentlemen, in Gauteng, we have this belief, and this is a very important belief that propels us literally every moment we find ourselves with people like you. That Stone Age didn't end because that generation ran out of stones. Stone Age ended because new ideas were developed. And it's within that context that we feel happy and excited that we are in a room with innovators, creators, and those that are prepared to invest not only their skills but their resources to make a better South Africa. We are not only excited that we are in the terrain to ensure that human settlements become better. We are not only excited that we are in a terrain where people are getting ready to leave the past and create the new. We can't be in a society where people still drown in water. We can't be in a society where people still struggle to get a better house. We can't be in a society where people will face fire when we've got innovations that can stop fire. So for you to be here, you are not only bringing excitement to us in Gauteng, you are paving a new way of a new generation, new ideas, and a better country. And for this, we want to wholeheartedly welcome you. And we want to state it up front. If the idea is damn good, please know that Gauteng will be on that list. With those few words, you are all welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Premier. Without much ado, I wish to invite the Deputy Minister of Human Settlement, Ms. Thandima Hembetlala, to kindly outline the purpose of this summit and the delivery of human settlements in our republic. Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Program Director. His Excellency, the President of the Republic of South Africa, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, the Minister of Human Settlements, Ms. Thembisile Simelane, the Premier of Gauteng, Mr. Panyaza Lesufi, the DG of Human Settlements, Dr. Alec Muemi, all DDGs, ministers, deputy ministers, MCs, mayors, speakers, CEOs of human settlements, entities, and members of the National Assembly, titans of the industry, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to stand on the established protocols. Program Director, today we are reminded of the wise words of Thomas Sankara when he said, I quote, "You cannot build a just society using unjust methods," close quote. It is both an honor and a profound responsibility to welcome you to the Innovative Building Technologies Presidential Summit 2026, the first of its kind, marking a defining moment of our national journey to transform human settlements and to reimagine how we build a just, resilient, and inclusive South Africa. We gather in this auspicious occasion where the will of the people is given expression, where the weight of history meets agency of the present, and where the decisions taken echo far beyond these walls. It is therefore fitting that we convene here for this highly anticipated Innovative Building Technologies Presidential Summit at a moment when the future of housing, climate resilience, and social justice demand decisive action and leadership. We gather not merely to change ideas, but to take decisions that will shape the lived reality of millions of our people. This summit is not about innovation for its own sake, but about action. It is about delivery, restoring dignity, protecting life, and building future that is equal to the challenges of our time. Honorable President, South Africa stands at decisive crossroad. On one path lies the familiar burden that is a growing housing backlog, rapid urbanization, increased migration, rising pressure on land and infrastructure, and communities still await for safe, dignified shelters. On the other path stands a changing climate that no longer speaks in warnings but in disasters, floods that wash away homes, fires that leave families destitute, storms that destroy livelihoods, heat waves that deepen inequality. These realities do not fall evenly. They fall hardest on the previously disadvantaged and those already pushed to the margins of our cities and towns. Inevitably, climate change has become a development issue. If our development path is to remain sustainable, inclusive, and resilient, then we must transform not only what we build, but how we build it. Innovative building technologies are no longer experimental. They are obligatory and central to our national response to the housing backlog, climate adaptation, quality assurance, industrialization, and job creation. They represent a strategic shift in how the state meets its constitutional obligation to progressively realize the right to adequate housing. They offer faster delivery, greater durability, climate-resilient materials and systems, lower carbon emissions, localized manufacturing, skills development, and cost efficiencies across the full life cycle of housing. Across the world, ladies and gentlemen, and increasingly here at home, IBTs have proven that innovation can save lives, protect infrastructure, and strengthen communities against the growing threats of extreme weather. Our task is to move IBTs from the margins to the mainstream, pilots to policy, exception to standard practice. This summit brings together a unique coalition of stakeholders from human settlements, including regulators, certifiers, government officials, financiers, researchers, developers, community leaders, and private sector representatives. Their presence and participation is not just a symbolic gesture, it is rooted in practical experiences such as regulatory uncertainties, stifling innovation, certification and testing delays holding back progress, procurement processes including new tech, skills gap in installation, inspection and maintenance, limited municipal and community awareness, disaster risk not being favored or factored in planning. Our pre-summit discussions highlighted that mainstreaming IBTs is an ongoing national transition, requiring political commitment, institutional alignment, and accountability. The summit aims to adopt the IBT Social Compact, a new collaboration framework for the state, industry, and society to transform housing delivery. This compact will clarify roles, address regulatory hurdles, enhance standards, integrate climate resilience, and support local innovation and investment. Our pre-summit discussions also highlighted an urgent need to ensure that our people are decently housed. Let us seize this moment to build a South Africa that is worthy of our highest aspirations, just, resilient, and inclusive. Thank you very much, Program Director.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, afford me the opportunity to invite to address you the Honorable Minister of Human Settlement, Ms. Thembisi Melani, after which I would request her to then introduce to you the Honorable the President. Thank you very much. Minister.
Thank you very much, Program Director, His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa, Deputy Minister of Human Settlements and Deputy Minister of COGTA, other honorable ministers who are here and deputy ministers, our host, Premier Panyaza Lesufi, members of the executive councils, mayors and councillors, representative of public entities and regulators, in particular AGRIMA and NHBRC, financial institution and all our developmental finance partners who have been with us since our pre-summit discussions, members of the portfolio of the Department of Human Settlements and the Ministerial Advisory Panel that is in support of this August summit, academia, research institutions and civil society, our international partners, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is both an honor and a privilege to welcome you, as Premier Lesufi has already done, to our first Presidential Innovative Building Technologies Summit in the history of our democratic South Africa. I was hoping you will clap hands for President Ramaphosa. It's not my delivery, it's his. This summit marks a decisive moment. It is not a conference of ideas alone, but it is an exhibition of technologies for admiration, but is also a call for action, which forces us to a collective commitment to change how we plan, how we finance, how we approve, and how we build human settlements in our country. I'm quick to correct colleagues and members of our community when they say I'm the Minister of Housing. I say I'm the Minister of Human Settlements, because our responsibility is to provide human settlements which includes all social amenities in that settlement. At the heart of this gathering, therefore, it's a simple and powerful truth. The way we have been building is no longer sufficient to the scale, the speed, and the complexity of South Africa's housing challenge. We are mandated by our Constitution in Section 26, which affirms that everyone has a right to have access to adequate housing. Since 1980s, in the form of sites and houses. This is a remarkable achievement, and I insist you clap hands. We are one of the few governments that has afforded to over 5 million of its residents a house. Yet we cannot deny that stubborn reality which says to us we still have people, around 2.5 to 3 million, President, in our HSS system, which is our housing system, which informs and creates a database of people who need houses, who are mainly the elder, people with disabilities, and child-headed household. And this therefore increases for us the pace in which how we handle land, infrastructure, and public finances. Of course, one cannot forget the escalating climate crisis, which keeps on reversing the gains that we would have made. So these realities compel us to ask, can we continue on yesterday's construction methods to solve tomorrow's problem? The answer is clear. We can never continue in that way. So South Africa is urbanizing at a very rapid pace. By mid-century, it is estimated that 80% of our population will be living in urban areas. So too often, this growth manifests in informal settlements located on the floodplains, unstable slopes, and environmentally degraded land, placing the poorest household directly in harm's way. Honorable President, currently we have mapped all our informal settlement, and we can say to you, we have got 4,075 informal settlements in South Africa, with the metros taking the largest share at eThekwini, city of Johannesburg, and Western Cape, city of Cape Town, and lastly, Ekurhuleni. But the other 30% can then be shared by the other provinces. What does that suggest? We are experiencing congestion, and we are experiencing, if we don't plan rapidly and deliver rapidly, that every open space, whether it's a park, whether it's an open space not intended for human settlement or for housing, being turned into informal settlement. I visited eThekwini, Ward 68, where there is an informal settlement in a graveyard. The residents have turned a graveyard into an informal settlement. It has over 328 shacks. I visited last year. I'm not sure how many has been built to date. So the reality therefore demands that we are climate resilient in our infrastructure, we are energy efficient, we use our water wisely and our engines for green economy to ensure that we participate as well in priority number 2 of ensuring that we are engineering the growth of our economy. The context of IBT and the summit, therefore, refers to the building systems which we have developed and we have taken through a process that both NHBRC and Agrima has done and undertaken in the department to assist us to be able to roll out. And Premier Panyaza, next to you, some of the facilities that have already been approved are being utilized in Gauteng. eThekwini is very well with material because of the planning of the municipality, which got challenges. In the Western Cape, we have got positive response. We have over 300,000 classrooms now of schools that have been built on the tested Agrima material together with NHBRC. What does that mean, President? We are trying so hard to respond to the build timelines you have given us and to be predictable in terms of quality and respond positively in terms of housing. And this is affirmed by our commitment to the white paper, which has been approved by Cabinet, which commits us to invest in innovative and flexible building typologies. We have set standards, norms and standards to enable all the IBTs to be integrated into the subsidized housing program. In fact, we confidently are saying to you, Honorable President, in our financial year 26-27, which should be commencing now in April, as you know, we are targeting a portion of our Human Settlement Development Grant. I'm afraid to say to you upfront how much percent, because when I say that percent, you will up it. But I am committing that our budget in the coming financial year will be putting to all provinces that they begin the rollout of IBTs. But we must be honest that innovation does not become a slogan, and that is why we are setting these measures. The questions that are remaining pertinent to me, President, and we are reshaping them with our team, is local manufacturing capacity, is skills availability and NHBRC, and it's helping there, its job impacts, its financing model, and we've got a very good pre-summit which we held with our financiers here. We've also received warmly responses from our neighboring countries, which are also present here to assist us with the financing models that they are utilizing. Our portfolio committee as well is also participating and is making sure that the product that we are designing will be acceptable in the market. So we are hoping to create new categories of employment and support localization and industrialization. We take it as a must that we must enable SMME participation as we do that. So our innovation responses, President, will be inclusive. So no single institution can drive this transition alone. So the compact that we are going to be signing today, we are hoping, amongst other things, it gives us the participation and a confirmation of acceptance by our civil society and community formations. I see our partners, Abahlali baseMjondolo, in attendance, and I appreciate President Zikote, your attendance and support in ensuring that we face and produce a quality that our people could be able to use and feel dignified to be handed over, and all our public entities. This compact will include clear commitments, defined roles, measurable actions, and accountability mechanisms. But it will push us closer, Honorable President, when we report to you to say how far have we reduced and how fast have we placed back a person who would have been displaced by floods or fires back into a dignified household. A challenge we accept because currently we are unable to do that at the desirable speed. Allow me, colleagues, and to introduce to you the President of the Republic of South Africa. It is now my honor to introduce a leader who has consistently called for innovation, resilience, and inclusive growth. A president I report to who always reminds me that resilience is not only about recovery after crisis. Minister, what is your mitigation plan? But it is about foresight and shared responsibility, from the ground up. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and join me as we welcome the President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency, President Cyril Ramaphosa.
Thank you. Let's be seated, please. We greet you all and want to thank you for your patience, waiting for a while as I was being taken through the various and very impressive stands of exhibitors here. It is a great pleasure for me to be at this summit. This is a very important summit brought together by the Department of Human Settlements, a summit that is being attended by the people who do the real work of providing houses or human settlement solutions to our people. This is critical, particularly in the environment in which we live in now and at the time that we are living through. The right to adequate housing is, as we all know, and we should know this because all of us as South Africans should be knowing our constitution backwards and forwards. The housing issue, the people of South Africa felt that it should be in our constitution. They had taken the inspiration from our forebears who drafted the Freedom Charter, who said, as one of the aspirations set out in the Freedom Charter, that there shall be houses. And that in itself is something that is also reflected both in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and, as I said, in our Constitution. And as this is the year when we will celebrate, or we are celebrating, the 30th year of our Constitution, being here should mean that maybe all of you should have read the Constitution and should know what the Constitution says about the housing issue. Having shelter that provides privacy, safety, and freedom is inextricably linked to the whole issue of human dignity that is so well articulated in our Constitution. Housing is not merely about shelter, but it is also about belonging. It is also about identity, about security, and about opportunity. But more than that, it is also about value, ownership, where people inherently have the need to have value in their hands and to own something. South Africa, like many other countries in the world, faces a growing demand for housing. You heard the minister say almost 80% of our people in years to come, and in fact in few years to come, will be living in urban areas. Since 1994, the democratic government has been able to provide more than 5 million housing opportunities, as defined also by the minister, and as also articulated by the deputy minister when she was talking about what the intentions of this summit are. And as I travel around the world, I always ask other government leaders, presidents and prime minister, I always ask them, what do you do for housing for your people? Do you provide free housing, build houses and give them to people free? And in the main, they always say, no, we do give them a subsidy. And we do support in this way and that way, but in the end, people still have to pay for their own houses. We are the only country that I know, and repeat, I know, even on the African continent, that builds houses and hands them over to the people of our country. We have done so now, and if you include all the issues of housing opportunities, being sites and build houses, we've done that to 5 million households. I know of no other country that has done so. But more than that, what that has meant is that we're giving value to our people. And if I do a quick calculation, because I like numbers, a quick calculation, it means that 5 million housing opportunities, which could have cost us over the 30-year period, almost 500 billion rand. The government of South Africa has given, free of charge, 500 billion, more or less, to the people of our country, just given them like that and say, you now have value worth 500 billion. I know of no other country that has done that. And even as we started, the houses that we built were worth a little less, but even if you factor inflation and the value of our money from then to today, it would more or less come around those type of figures. This is phenomenal. And this is how the government has sought to live up to what is said in the Freedom Charter as well as in our Constitution. This achievement stands amongst the most ambitious social programs on our continent, and it has transformed millions of lives. Yet, despite this progress, more than 2.5 million families are today still on the waiting list for housing throughout the country. Now, if you were to think that we would need to provide, say, 2.5 million houses or 3 million houses, that would easily cost us at 100,000 rand, and just a rule of thumb, a house, it costs more these days. It would mean that we've got to provide 250 billion to possibly 400 billion that we still need to spend to house the nation. This is a phenomenal task. Inadequate supply and limited land availability, the rising construction costs, as well as the delays in project delivery are all contributing to a situation of scarcity of delivering houses. This has a number of consequences. For the middle class, prices and rents are being pushed upwards. It is the middle class that is able to go to a bank and get a mortgage and fund their own housing. And one of the great things about our democracy is that the governments, the administrations that we've had, have created a middle class, and more importantly, a black middle class, which did not exist during the apartheid years. And this is real progress, that a black middle class has come to the fore. They now buy houses, but at the same time, government has an obligation to provide houses for those who are poor and who are not able to provide their own houses. For the poor, the homeless, and the proliferation of informal settlements, as we have 4,700 informal settlements. These are exacerbating already dire conditions in our country. The delivery of basic services to unplanned settlements is stretching the capacity and the resources of our government. Rapid urbanization, as we had, and population growth, the whole issue of migration, people moving into our country, but also climate change, are reshaping our human settlements on an unprecedented scale. It is estimated that by 2050, nearly 8 out of every 10 South Africans will live in the cities. Many will live in informal settlements, often located on vulnerable land because those pieces of land where they go are prone to floods, to droughts, to heat stress, and environmental degradation. And also because the planning processes in our cities and our towns is not up to standard. The town planning area is what we have been neglecting, because we just allow people to go and build wherever, even to places where it is dangerous for them to build. We therefore must return back to proper town planning processes, where town planning will be the order of the day, and where people do not just say, I am going to build wherever I want, because it is a danger to them. In recent years, many parts of our country have borne the brunt of climate change. It is always the poorest and the most vulnerable who suffer first, but more importantly, or worse, who suffer the most. If we continue to build in the old way, on the same land, with the same vulnerabilities, using the same methods, the same materials, then we are not solving the housing challenge. But we must make a change. And this is a time when change must happen in the light of increased population numbers, in the light of climate change, and in the light of various technological changes. We must embrace the tide of technology. Technological progress has now come upon us. Premier Lusufi correctly says, and this morning he was showing off a little bit of how he can become clever now and again. And he says, you know, people in the Stone Age did not stop using stone because they ran out of stones. He says, because new technologies came. So when he sat down, I said, boy, what's poor Hamnati? What's poor? Now, this is a social imperative, but it is also an economic necessity. The right to adequate housing must not be the sole privilege of those people who have money. It is an aspiration for all that our Constitution compels us to progressively realize, that there shall be housing. Our forebears, who paved the way in terms of ideas, are the ones who said, there shall be houses and there shall be comfort. This summit has been convened because it is time to think differently. We have to think beyond traditional ways of building. We have to think beyond just brick and mortar. We must embrace technological solutions that enable housing to be delivered faster, better, and at scale. And in my book, cheaper, because I always want to look at the bottom line. Is it cheaper? And some people will say, no, we do it faster, but I say, no, I want it cheaper. So make sure that when you come with technologies, you bring me a cheaper solution. Now, this summit brings together government, regulators, financiers, innovators, municipalities, professional bodies, community organizations, youth formations, women's organizations, international partners in support of modernizing human settlements. So this, I would say, is the intellectual repository of building housing settlements. And the minister is correct. She's not the minister of housing, she's the minister of housing settlements, because we look at the whole issue broadly, not just in a narrow way of building roof and bricks around a household. We look at housing settlements, the entire community. We're united in our resolve to turn innovation into a coordinated national pathway for housing delivery at scale. And here we talk about scale because we have to deliver. If we find the money, we have to deliver between 2.5 to 3 million houses. which will easily cost us something like 300 to 400 billion, which we do not have today. We are learning from global experience while building solutions that are locally embedded, socially accepted, and owned by our people. At the G20 Leaders Summit, which was held here in this very venue, South Africa reaffirmed a very important principle, a principle that now defines leadership in the 21st century. We said that resilience is not merely the ability to recover, it is the foresight to prepare for disasters. It is the foresight to prepare what may be calamitous that will come in future. Resilience is about choices made before disaster strikes. That is the message that we put to the G20 leaders who were gathered here, that we need to have a type of resilience that enables us to prepare for disasters and not only react to disasters, but also to ensure that we have the financial resources to address those disasters that will befall us. It is about building systems that protect lives. It is about building systems that conserve resources and endure over time. It is resilience that ensures that human settlements requires such foresight. Buildings are amongst the world's largest sources of carbon emissions and resource consumption, as Deputy Minister Mohamed Hlala said. Traditional construction methods, while familiar and trusted, are no longer sustainable on their own. We need to look at other ways: water scarcity, rising energy costs, climate risk, and the urgency of scale demand that we modernize how we build. I was very impressed as I was going through the stalls to hear some of those who are manufacturing building materials who were saying this type of building material is fire resistant. This type of building material is climate accommodating. In other words, when it's cold, it will give you warmth. When it's hot, it will give you a coolness. I was very impressed to hear all that. So innovative building technologies offer us an opportunity, a very strategic opportunity to address the exigencies of our moment. When appropriately regulated, when appropriately financed, socially accepted and locally embedded, innovative building technologies allow us to build faster and at scale and cheaper. They enable us to reduce carbon emissions and water use, improve energy efficiency, and enhance durability and quality. And also, just on water use, I went through one of the stalls and they were showing me how they've now come up with new technologies for building toilets and the utilization of water in toilets, how toilets can use minimum water and still be able to give us the dignity that we need as human beings. So innovative building technologies are becoming and have become an essential part of a diversified, modern construction system capable of meeting today's challenges. And Minister, as now we deliver houses, we must be asking those who are in the construction industry, are they utilizing technological methods of delivering houses? And I would argue that if they are not, they should be at the bottom of the list. We now want those who are going to use modern technologies. We must move with the times, like what Premier Lesufi was saying. those who were using stones, it's not because stones were no longer in great supply. It was because technology had moved. But he didn't tell us where technology has moved to. Ke bona okare go na le limitation nyana gona moo. But yes, indeed, absolutely right. In South Africa, innovation in construction takes place within an established regulatory framework. We've moved ahead. We've learned from other people. Agrima South Africa provides rigorous scientific and technological or technical certification of innovation systems, while the National Home Builders Registration Council safeguards quality, compliance, and consumer protection during implementation. I want to pause here for a while and also make sure that the antennas of the NCHBR, I think that's what you're called, and Le Agrima South Africa, you must keep an eagle's eye on the quality of materials that are used in our building processes. We've had a few buildings collapsing, one in the Southern Cape and one in KZN, where the collapse led to the deaths of people. And of course, the investigations are ongoing. I haven't seen the reports, but what I've asked myself is whether the quality of the materials that was used was up to standard. So I want you to keep your antennas up to make sure that as we give approvals, as we give licenses, as we examine all these matters, the quality of materials used must be uppermost in our mind. Together, these institutions that I've referred to ensure that innovation strengthens public trust. Innovation without standards erodes confidence, while innovation with oversight builds legitimacy. The 2024 White Paper on Human Settlements provides the policy foundation for the innovative shift we now need to make. It calls for resilient building typologies, sustainable local materials, rapid emergency housing responses, and stronger partnerships across society. At the heart of this summit is the social compact on innovative building technologies. Now, this compact represents, in my view, a shared national commitment to move innovative building technologies from pilot projects and demonstrations into the mainstream of South Africa's human settlements. I saw a few of the pilots that are being tried. Now, I'd want to say, both from the universities, from our CSIR and so forth, I want to say, move quicker and industrialize those and bring them into the mainstream, because we want to deliver houses at a more rapid pace before our people lose hope. The 2.5 million people in South Africa who do not have houses, some of whom have been waiting on the waiting list for long, are losing patience. We must move quicker, and we must now resort to new technologies, to innovative means of delivering houses. The compact aligns policy and planning, regulation and standards, finance and insurance, research and skills development, and implementation across all spheres of government. And when it comes to skills, I must say that I was very impressed as I was going from stall to stall when I saw young people, young women and young men being present in some of these companies that are displaying, meaning that they are acquiring skills and they are becoming better. It is this skills revolution that we want to see. More and more skilled South Africans who are good at what they do, who have developed expertise, who are not fly-by-nights, who are not manga people, who are real experts in what they do. I saw some of them today. You can applaud them. But this system, most importantly, establishes shared responsibility and accountability. The Innovative Building Technologies program focuses on areas where impact is most urgent. These areas include disaster recovery and emergency housing, climate-resilient settlements, energy-efficient and water-saving technologies, and local manufacturing and supply chains. Now, most of what I saw today talks to local manufacturing, talks to local content, and that pleased me immensely. Scaling innovation requires confidence from financiers and insurers, and I hope that the financiers are here in their numbers, because in the end, they are the ones who are going to have to provide the finance that will fuel this process of having to build. It should not only be government that has to provide the 300 or 400 billion rand to house the rest of the people who need housing. The private sector, the financiers must come in as well, and together we must build a financial system that will be able to give dignity to the people of our country. Through the social compact, government, development finance institutions, banks, and insurers have committed to align funding instruments, de-risk these projects, and recognize certified IBT housing as financeable and insurable assets. Without this alignment, innovation and the utilization of new technology will just stall and even fail. As we proceed along this path, we need to address the concerns that these innovative building technologies will cost jobs. We must work together to protect jobs. In fact, they must be job creators. We must draw on the international experience that shows that innovation does not eliminate work, but rather transforms it, and in fact should be seen as adding to it. International experience shows bricklayers becoming technicians, contractors becoming manufacturers, and communities becoming producers, not just beneficiaries. Innovative building technologies enable us to align housing delivery with technical training, artisan development, digital skills, as well as local manufacturing. We must be building a very positive and successful ecosystem. Through this, we must provide opportunities for young people, in particular, to learn, to get the skills that they need to get to work. We must use this transition to address the persistent exclusion of women from the built environment sector. Through targeted procurement, access to finance, and support for women-owned enterprises and cooperatives, innovative buildings technologies can create space for women as entrepreneurs, as innovators, and indeed as owners and as leaders. Inclusion must also be built into the design of our settlements. For persons with disabilities, housing is about access. It is about independence. It is about dignity. That is what it should be about. Now, innovative building technologies allow universal design principles to be integrated from the outset, not retrofitted as an afterthought. This summit must talk to all these things, we must be designing settlements and not just blocks of houses that have no soul. We must be building settlements that are well attuned to meeting the human needs of our people. Needs such as a living abode, needs such as an entertainment area, a relaxation area, an area where, yes, they can move around safely. Safety must be one of the key requirements. They can go and shop, they can go and worship. Children should be able to play well in those human settlements, and they must be well educated. So this summit is a commitment to action. The social compact will guide coordinated implementation, supported by structured governance, monitoring, and accountability. Delivery is now the measure of our seriousness. Resilience is the difference between recovery and repeated loss, between dignity and displacement, between success and failure. We have the technology to build for the present and to be prepared for the future. Now we need leadership. We need partnerships. We need cooperation. We need collaboration. We need to be creative. We need to build faster, better, and cheaper. Let's not forget the cheaper part. Let us work together to build a resilient, inclusive South Africa, which is a home to all our people, and in which all our people have a decent home, so that we can fulfill the aspiration and the promise that our forebears had when they adopted the Freedom Charter here in Gauteng, in Kliptown, when they said, there shall be houses and comfort. And they then said, these aspirations we will fight for, shoulder by shoulder, hand in hand, until we have won our freedom. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thanks to the Honorable the President. I now wish to request my colleagues in the protocol to help us usher to the stage. Dr. Masemola, the Deputy Minister, kindly ascend the stage, and may I also request the members of the executive councils from the various provinces to also come onto the stage, and the MMCs for human settlements to also come to the stage. They're here. Chair of the Portfolio Committee. You don't come out.